So now we're going to go ahead and talk about something that we want to discuss called what altcoins will attract the most institutional money. Let's go ahead and take a look at this article. Cardano on-chain transactions over $100,000 climbed 50x in 2020, suggesting massive institutional demand. You can see it in this chart right here. The volume on Cardano has absolutely exploded. And the question of the next 13 minutes is which cryptocurrencies are going to attract the most institutional money? Tim, why don't you kick off the segment and then tell me what you think?
Well, so the reason I put this up here, I thought it was interesting. First of all, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of interesting things there, but this is something that people have gone against Cardano. For example, I remember there's a video, and I don't remember the creator of the video. I wish I could say his name because I'm a big fan of hearing diverse opinions. So just because someone disagrees with what I think, that encourages me to watch them. But he showed the chart over, when Cardano was sitting closer to $3, he showed the massive amount of whale holdings and institutional holdings. And then he showed, as we declined, we had a 75% dip. He showed that number begin to dwindle. And so his point there was saying, so the institutions don't want to be here. The whales don't want to be here. This is why Cardano is not going to do very well, but no one's going to talk about this. To which I said, and I made a video, I was like, actually, that doesn't even FUD me out. That actually made me like it even more because it allowed retail investors to have a bigger space. But what this article is talking about is actually when you were looking at the on-chain metrics in 2022, we are seeing not just whales, because Smayo and I were talking about this morning, all institutions are whales, or most institutions are whales, but not all whales are institutions. Sometimes whales are just personal buyers who have a lot of money and buy. But these on-chain metrics are showing it's institutional money coming back into space, which is really cool because obviously Bitcoin is going to be king. Bitcoin will always have the most institutional money going towards it because of reasons Jeb talked about earlier in the show. It just is the daddy of crypto. It is the what's the phrase you use? It's
the king crypto.
Well, okay. Well, anyway, so Ethereum clearly has a lead. Ethereum, when it comes to altcoins, clearly has the institutional lead, but we know some of these other projects are getting attention. For example, someone even just mentioned it in the super chat, VeChain. VeChain is a coin that has shown to have institutional attention coming to it. Luna has institutional money coming to it. And so Cardano now entering the space. Solana now is entering the space with institutional money. The question is, as far ahead as Ethereum is, will Ethereum be the main project and the main coin that institutions go to for the technology, or are we going to see projects like Cardano, Solana, VeChain, Luna, and others potentially begin to gobble up some of that institutional altcoin money?
And I think that's a very interesting question, is that what are the institutions looking for? Now, the institutions, most of them are publicly traded. So when you're publicly traded, you have to answer to your investors. You have to be held account for that. That's why one of the major companies that has invested billions of dollars in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is MicroStrategy, run by Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor, which, by the way, I interviewed him about a week ago. That went up last Saturday. Watch that video. It's got 50,000 views. Great interview. I think it's one of his best interviews. Michael Saylor can defend why he bought Bitcoin very, very, very clearly. And if any of his investors, anyone on the board say, why did you buy Bitcoin? He's got a solid, strong answer that's going to convince them that it was the right decision. Most institutional CEOs or executive board of directors or C-suite executives do not have the understanding of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to defend the purchase of Bitcoin, let alone any other altcoin. So what we're seeing happen right now is a transition in the institutions from ignorance to knowledge, from obscurity to understanding, from thinking that Bitcoin is used only for criminals, which the U.S. Department of Justice came out and said in coordination with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that it is not predominantly used for criminal activity. That was a big win for crypto's brand name. A lot of these institutions are still thinking, however, okay, crypto is very risky. The rest of what they're investing in, stocks, bonds, ETFs, real estate, etc., is not as risky. But as more education happens, as more big CEOs like Michael Saylor come out and talk about why not only you should be investing in Bitcoin to make a return, but why Bitcoin might be the only hedge against the destruction of the US dollar, more and more institutions are going to get in. However, all of this frames the conversation of what altcoins could attract the most institutional money. Well, let's reframe the question a little bit, and then we'll answer that question. What cryptos will attract the most institutional money? It's obviously going to be Bitcoin because these institutions have a low risk tolerance. They're okay with 10% return a year. So if they can get on average 1,000% return a year on Bitcoin, or on average a 400% return a year on Bitcoin, they're going to be okay with that and say, okay, altcoins, you're great, but we've got, $5 trillion in assets under management. We don't need to go and 100x that, because if we did, there would not be enough money in the entire world to back up the money that they have. They don't need to invest in the altcoins. However, if you ask the question, what altcoins could attract the most institutional money. I think you're actually going to see quite a bit of institutional money going into the likes of XRP, because XRP is working primarily with institutions. I think you're going to see a lot going into Cardano, because Cardano has much stronger technology than Ethereum, in my opinion. It's not as antiquated, it's much more rigorously tested, and it can be proven why it works with a lot of research and research papers that have been written and peer-reviewed. It has gone through a scientific process, and I think a lot of institutions are going to look at Cardano versus Ethereum, and they're going to say, yes, Ethereum is larger, yes, Ethereum has a larger community. Yes, Ethereum's been around longer. Yes, Ethereum was first to market. However, Ethereum's major selling point is its technology, which is a very dangerous thing to have as your major selling point, because if you ever get behind the 8 ball on tech, then all of a sudden you don't deserve rank number 1 anymore. And that's kind of what's happening with Ethereum. Ethereum was not founded on a cause. It was founded on technology, and then it was founded for a cause. But the branding of Ethereum has not, in my opinion, done a good enough job of advertising why Ethereum was created. Everybody knows that Ethereum has solid technology, and it was the leader in the DeFi space. But it has kept its rank number 1 based on tenure and based on tech. Well, tenure is not going to matter as much anymore when Ethereum was only founded a couple of years before Cardano. Tenure is going to be basically irrelevant in that case. And then if you're just focusing on the why it was created, the cause and the mission behind it, and then the technology, institutions are going to look at Cardano and say, yeah, it's smaller, but 1, we're going to be able to make more money in it, because 2, it has better technology and it's going to appreciate and grow faster than Ethereum, not only because Ethereum has lesser technology, but also 2, because Cardano is a 10th as valuable as Ethereum, so there's more money to be made in it. Between those two, I think you would see a lot of value flowing into Cardano. In the early years, I'm talking about the next year or two, you'll probably see more going into ETH just because the institutions are ignorant. As time goes on, I think you're going to see more institutional investment going into Cardano. I do think you'll see a lot into XRP. Terra Luna, not a bad pick. Solana, a very big pick because it was basically founded on institutional money. But if you're looking at the number 1 crypto that institutions will invest in, I would say it's probably going to be Cardano if you look at the aggregate of the next 5 years combined. So what do you think about that, Tim? What do you?
So I'm still mulling it over in my brain, and there's some wrestling points, because as I said a second ago, Ethereum clearly has the lead. It has the edge. It's like Bitcoin is in a class of its own. And while Ethereum's still an altcoin, I very much understand. I saw in chat, someone said, hey, when is Ethereum going to be in a class of its own? And that's a valid argument. The problem is that Ethereum's in the process of switching from proof of work to proof of stake. They have all those issues going on. It's a very difficult process. Smay will probably even chime on this when he gives his take for a second. But I remember he's working on creating like a charity NFT and deciding, does he want to build that NFT platform on Ethereum? Does he want to go somewhere else? And one of the things you really have to think about is the gas fees. And even though our 1559 update that happened last year kind of helped bring those gas fees down, those gas fees are going back up. So Ethereum has a lot of problems of usability. And the question is, we think now at the end of this year, ETH 2.0 might be a finished and accomplished, and Ethereum is moving to proof of stake. We've even seen some successes, but are they actually going to deliver? Versus you have Cardano, who took it a little bit slower and is doing things the right way. We have other projects, like you said, XRP is actually working with banking. It's actually got a similar dynamic to what Bitcoin's got going on. So we're going to see some institutions diversify there. You have Solana, who has a similar project to Cardano and Ethereum, but just a little more centralized. But institutions don't care about that. They don't care about decentralized or centralized. So are they going to be looking at all this stuff Solana's got building? It's a question that I don't know if I could give I know with confidence this is going to be it, but I do tend to agree with you, Jeb, on Cardano, and the reason why is that why, and as much as institutions don't care about the heart and the feeling and is this a good company, what they do care about is, hey, is this something I can make money in? Because that's what these institutions are going to do. They're going to put their money here because they think it'll make them money. And Cardano has such an avid community. And yes, it has its haters. Yes, it's one of those projects that you either love it or you hate it. But they have a very strong, very devoted community. The technology is very solid. Charles Hoskinson is one of the people I think is going to emerge as one of the more popular people in the entire world.
Yeah.
His personality,
I could see him being on the front page of Time one day.
I think there are a lot of institutions and people who got behind Apple. Apple was a great product, but there were other great products. Steve Jobs was just special.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is not the only creator of electric vehicles, and he's not the only person to do what he does, but there's something about him. There's something about Elon Musk that people attach themselves to Elon Musk, and they said, whatever this guy does, I want to support. Are we going to see a similar thing happen with Charles Hoskinson and Cardano? And as great as Vitalik is, Vitalik just does not have that same presence as Charles. And I know that's a really weird way, a really weird argument to say that I think Cardano's going to do better than Ethereum, but at the same time, That's kind of how the world works. We follow figures.
You look at corporations and then you look at their CEOs, and normally their CEO of Fortune 500 companies has, if it's a public-facing CEO that talks a lot, they normally have 10 times the followers. Like, for example, let's say, Steve Jobs were alive today, he'd probably have 30 million Twitter followers compared to Apple's Twitter having maybe 3 to 5 million, because we interact more with personal brands. That's why personal brands have grown so much in the age of social media. So the thing you need to realize is something Joe Blow, too, just said in chat a second ago. He said, let me see if I can find it so I can quote him directly. How many payphones can you count in your hometown? Payphones used to have complete and total dominance, and then better technology with a better purpose behind it came along, and it served the customer in a better way. So I'm not saying that Ethereum is going to get flipped in the next year, but I am saying in the next 5 years, there's a very big threat that it will. And part of the reason is not just that it's getting outclassed and outmatched in technology, it's also the fact that it just doesn't have as attractive of a brand name to it, because it really attracts, frankly, and I'm one of them, nerds who are like, look at how amazing this tech is. Well, the problem is the nerds are going to look and say, oh, Cardano has better tech, I'm going to go over here. And also, if you're trying to go global and build a $10 trillion market cap, you got to advertise to what people want, not just, oh, this is cool technology. That's why 3D printing technology didn't take off until there started to be industrial application that the consumer could use, because you can't build a company on what people want. You got to build a company on what people need, and what people need is decentralized infrastructure that doesn't have very, very, very high gas fees and massive scalability issues, and the inability to be updated and crafted in such a way that it doesn't completely collapse every once in a while. So I'm not trying to FUD ETH. My point, because 35% of my portfolio is Ethereum. I think Ethereum is a wonderful project. I think it's going to do very well. I am, however, saying you need to be careful, because ADA is going to be nipping on its heels. This is the final thing I'll say, and then I want to get Smay's opinion. The reason Apple has the best technology is because Apple has the best brand, and because Apple has the best brand of all of the computer manufacturers, the most attractive brand, it has the most money to build the best technology, to get the best engineers, not the other way around. It's not that it has the best technology and therefore it has the best brand. It has the best brand, so it attracts the best engineers, the best minds, the best leaders, and it gets the most money so that it can make sure it's on top of its game with tech. That's why Simon Sinek wrote the book Start With Why. I have never run our business the same ever since I read that book. You got to start with the brand. You got to start with why you do what you do, because people have to, especially in the last 20 years with millennials and Gen Zers now becoming the major part of the economy, they want to know what the purpose that you're doing is. They don't want to just go into work and collect a paycheck for the next 40 years and then say, okay, well, that's just 40 hours of my life that I don't get back, and I just sacrificed, I didn't enjoy. They want to know what the purpose is. Cardano's purpose and the passion behind the founder and the community is much clearer than Ethereum. That's why it's going to give Ethereum a run for its money. Not saying it's going to flip it, but there is going to be competition. Smay, what is your thought?
Well, first and foremost, I kind of want to zoom back out for just a second, because the original question is what altcoin is going to end up getting the most institutional adoption, institutional attention.
Yeah.
I would implore you guys to just stop here and think for a second. Let's zoom out and go. Let's get out of the crypto space for a second. Let's get out of the crypto bubble and go out to what's mainstream right now. Guys, it really, the conversations always go Bitcoin first, right? Everyone knows Bitcoin. Everyone at this point knows Bitcoin. Then what is the second thing? When you're talking to your grandma, you're talking to anybody, you're talking to anybody, right? On the street, random guys. The second thing they're gonna know about is Bitcoin, and then Ethereum. They're gonna know about Ethereum, and that's the thing.
And they'll call it that too.
Guess what? The market cap reflects it too. So that's my point, is to say this. I think I would say, zoom out for a second. If we're just talking about who is going to receive the most institutional investment, because let's be honest, we are in such a new market right now with cryptocurrency that traditional institutions are playing catch up in terms of knowing what the heck this is, right? So they're starting with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the most proven. Then the market cap reflects that the next one they're going to go to is Ethereum, because Ethereum is the next most used and talked about. You know, it's that I think in terms of where they're putting their money where they think they're going to get money back. And where they're putting their money is going to be in where the market cap reflects is the most used and talked about, invested in second option, which is going to be Ethereum. And so I'll say, yes, Ethereum has so many kinks, right? But even just look at the fact, the amount, let's just look at the NFT market. The amount of money being generated through the Ethereum NFT market, the amount of metaverse stuff happening, and that's in some way attached to Ethereum. Ethereum has at the moment, Ethereum just has the more compelling case for seeing that institutional adoption. Now, I'm not even making an argument what I think is the better project. I'm just bringing us back to the original question. My answer to that is to say, I think Ethereum is going to get more attention, right? I think that's just how it's going to be for a little while. Now, that being said, I agree with everything that Tim and Jeb just said about Cardano having a better brand and better, taking it slower, building a better project. Do I think here in the future that we'll see a flip, right? Probably, right? But I think in the meantime, to answer that question, who do I think is going to get the most? And I think it already is happening. It's already what's reflected right now. It'll continue to be Ethereum. That's why there's been so many conversations that, a couple months ago that people were talking about, well, is Ethereum ever going to flip Bitcoin? Because, as the top crypto. Obviously, I don't think any of us in this room believe that, right? Yeah. But that was a serious conversation happening. So like that being said, no one ever talked about, is Cardano gonna flip Bitcoin? It was always, is Ethereum gonna flip Bitcoin? So I think that shows that it's a pretty powerful number 2, and I think it'll stay in its spot for a little while. So.
Whoa!
Look at this guy.
He watched the entire video.
What a cool guy.
I think the next thing that he wants to do is hit the like button and then probably even subscribe to the channel.
And perhaps even comment down below what he thought.
That would be pretty cool.
Wow. What a cool guy.